Hello there guys, what is going on? Son Chelsea back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're all doing well and keeping safe on this Wednesday. Going to be talking in today's video about Callum Hudson-Odoi and Bayern Munich's renewed interest in the winger. Also, Fikayo Tomori's potential loan move to Rennes this summer that involves Edouard Mendy. But before we get into any of that, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also, hit the like button if you're enjoying the content because it helps out the channel as well. Let's start off with Callum Hudson-Odoi because I think that's such a big story and there's been a lot of debate on social media to it. Sky Germany reporting about Bayern Munich's interest once again in Callum Hudson-Odoi, and also Matt Law reporting here for the Telegraph. This piece that I'm referencing was predominantly about Kepa and Mendy. Interesting article and sort of the competition this season and what Chelsea hope Mendy's arrival will do to Kepa this season. So please go and read it, link in the description box below. But as you can see here, Bayern Munich could make a new move to try and sign Callum Hudson-Odoi before the transfer window shuts next month. The Germans failed in a bid to sign Hudson-Odoi 18 months ago, but hope Chelsea's signings of Kai Havertz and Hakim Ziyech may open the door. So yeah, this could be the unwanted sequel of Bayern Munich chasing Hudson-Odoi's signature. It, sends you back to January 2019. Chelsea convincing Hudson-Odoi to stay, getting that 5-year deal, the club investing a lot on a very young player, giving him a massive contract, which was widely reported about at the time. And there's been criticism of Hudson-Odoi since. I think objectively for me, I think losing Hudson-Odoi in either a loan move or a permanent move, which I don't think is going to happen because of Chelsea investing so much on this player very early on in his career, I think would be bad. I think it'd be a bad move because although Frank Lampard does have a lot of attacking options, one of my concerns watching Monday's game was the lack of natural width we had in our team. Now I look at actual wingers in our squad, not the likes of Werner and Havertz who can play out there. You saw Kai Havertz playing out there on Monday and he may do that continuously throughout the season because we know he has that versatility, but just natural wide players. We have Christian Pulisic, Hakim Ziyech and Callum Hudson-Odoi. Of course, losing Willian and Pedro, there was concern and sort of talk that maybe Chelsea may, on top of all the business they've already done, go in for another winger, but that doesn't look likely now. I think Frank Lampard's very content the fact that he does have that versatility within a Havertz if he needs to play him out there at times, and potentially, of course, having Hudson-Odoi on the bench as well. But you look at the squad on Monday, because of both Christian Pulisic and Ziyech being injured, the only natural winger, recognised winger in the squad on Monday was Callum Hudson-Odoi, who came off the bench, and I felt we lacked his natural width in the team as the game progressed. So I think that's firstly a mistake. I think losing a player like that, I cannot see Chelsea, based on the business they hope to do before next month. It looks like a goalkeeper, which is going to be Mendy, maybe the hunt and pursuit for Declan Rice. That will be the other thing. It does not seem any talk at the moment about another winger, which I can't see happening because I think all of our attacking business has been done for this summer. But let's look at Hudson-Odoi. There's been so much debate about him. I see a lot of comments on my videos about him, about his play time, questions about him. Will he stay at Chelsea? Has he got a long-term future? Because of Chelsea investing very heavily in a similar area to where he plays. I think the interesting thing is, of course, when you look at the squad currently and you look at the strongest 11, Hudson-Odoi doesn't usually feature. When you're sort of putting your 11 with the new signings integrated within there, it isn't usually his name that pops up regularly. I felt that Monday could have been a great opportunity, a bit like LOFTUS-CHEEK got the opportunity to start that game. I think he would have been disappointed that not only, Kai Havertz having a week's training, getting on the right, but also I think more because Hudson-Odoi played on the left wing against Brighton in the pre-season friendly, and I thought had a decent half, especially the first half of that game, did not play in a natural position out left. Instead, Mason Mount got that role. And I think there was disappointment probably looking at LOFTUS-CHEEK, who performed pretty poorly. Mason Mount could have gone into that role and Hudson-Odoi could have played on the left. Maybe we'll see that in the future. If Pulisic's injury continues and Ziyech isn't back for a couple of weeks' time, which it doesn't look like either of them will be ready for Sunday's game against Liverpool, I would personally like to see Hudson-Odoi back in the starting 11 because I do think we need that natural width in the game. And I think based on LOFTUS-CHEEK's performance on Monday, I think Hudson-Odoi's got a very realistic chance of getting minutes. There's been a lot of criticism about Hudson-Odoi, his performances over the past year. I've made videos about this, not only myself, but with Nini FC before. We've discussed sort of the criticism of Hudson-Odoi. I think at times very harsh. The fact that he's had injury issues in the past and, the form, the confidence, the pressure on a young player considering the massive contract. I made a big video about Callum Hudson-Odoi back in, I think it was January of this year, January 2020. And it was just after he scored a couple goals in the FA Cup, I think it was. Please go and watch that video. I think it was why Chelsea fans fans need to be patient with Hudson-Odoi and sort of going into the depth of sort of fan expectations over young players and how that's a negative. Yes, the club have invested a lot in Hudson-Odoi, but I think you have to look back in context of the Bayern Munich situation a couple of years ago, last year in January 2019, and look at where Chelsea were. They weren't in the best position. I mean, this was before Frank Lampard arrived and started giving younger players opportunities. At that time, Chelsea very much still at the stage where you felt like young players getting a chance in this team is going to be very unlikely. Of course, that seems to have changed now. May revert back to old type with all the new signings coming in. We'll have to wait and see, of course, with Frank Lampard at the helm. I think there's a sense probably within the club, they've invested so much on Hudson-Odoi. I think the amount of games we're playing this season, I've said this so often, and I think it's very relevant based on the injury issues we're going to see this season, rotation. You think about it next week. So we've got Liverpool on Sunday, and then we've got the League Cup game against Barnsley. I'd be stunned if Hudson-Odoi isn't playing in either of those games, or at least starting one of those games. And then in a couple of weeks' time beyond that, in October, the Champions League begins. And we saw last season, I felt Hudson-Odoi's probably best period of the season was when he just originally returned from injury and he started playing in those Champions League and Premier League games. There's a quality player within there. We know that. And I think, and I hope that it's on Hudson-Odoi himself to raise his level, raise his game with the new players coming in. I think it's on all the young players. It's on Mason Mount. It's on Tammy Abraham. It's on Reece James. Of course, Tomori, we're going to get to Tomori, but other players as well within the squad to raise their quality and consistency. And that's what's going to get them in this first team. Frank Lampard has proved a number of times if you train hard, if you train well, if you prove yourself, you will get minutes. And I think because of the amount of games, even with all the new additions, I think Hudson-Odoi can have an opportunity this year. And if he grabs it, he could be a regular first team player. It's going to be difficult. Absolutely, it will be. And I think it's like with a lot of players, they need a run of games to get confidence, to get momentum. And you feel like Hudson-Odoi is one of those players. And I think him and LOFTUS-CHEEK, I think it's in similar situations in the sense that they broke in so emphatically under Sarri at the back end of 18-19 and both got Achilles injuries. And that set them back. But Hudson-Odoi proves when he returned from injury, he got into the first team once again. I think it will be difficult for him, but just for me, it's like looking at the squad. What does the squad need? And I think we need natural width, because I think that's something we lacked in the game against Brighton on Monday. And I want to see Hudson-Odoi be utilised when, of course, Pulisic comes back and Ziyech is ready to start a game. But I think maybe just on the other side to that, looking at the other side of the argument, is Callum Hudson-Odoi looking at his own future, believing, I've had this massive contract, why aren't I starting regular games? That could be the sense. I've never got that impression from Hudson-Odoi's mentality. I'm not questioning that. I think that's unfair. I think when people label that and throw that at Hudson-Odoi, I think that's really unfair, because people who know him closely have said that's not the case. He's a hard worker. He's someone that's very dedicated, going into Chelsea, trying to improve himself. I just think maybe in the long term, not the short term, not this window, but say in a year's time, if he's still not breaking into the team and Ziyech has cemented his spot at right wing, Pulisic has cemented his spot at left wing, there may be a chance where Hudson-Odoi thinks to himself, what is my long-term future here? Because both of those players, Ziyech and Pulisic, and especially in the case of Pulisic, not old players. Pulisic's 21, not that far off in terms of age to Callum Hudson-Odoi. And he's going to, if he's amazing at Chelsea, he's going to last a very long time. And that could be a concern for Hudson-Odoi. But I just think generally, I think Chelsea should not be looking at letting Hudson-Odoi go, not even on a loan for me, because we need that depth. We need that versatility. We need that dynamism, I think, from Hudson-Odoi that he can bring, and I think he can prove a lot of people wrong. As I say, I think it's on his own shoulders to prove people wrong, to prove his critics wrong, because I do think there's a quality player within there to prove people wrong, and I think he's one of those young talents that Chelsea invested a lot in, has shown in glimpses, but now it's about being more consistent when he gets the chances. So those are my opinions on it. Please let me know yours in the comments below. Now moving on to another youngster being linked with a move away, and that is Fikayo Tomori to Rennes on loan this season. Now this is very much linked into the Edouard Mendy deal, which is very close to completion. Simon Johnson tweeting this morning, can confirm Rennes remain interested in signing Tomori on loan from Chelsea, wrote about their interest. Last month, reports in France suggest Ligue 1 club have now asked for the defender as part of the Mendy deal. I still expect the keeper to make the move to Chelsea soon. We know Edouard Mendy deal is very close to completion now, and it's very important for Chelsea to get this deal over the line. I spoke about that yesterday in regards to Kepa and his future at the club, and Chelsea needing to strengthen a position of major weakness within our starting 11. And if signing Edouard Mendy means that Fikayo Tomori goes out on loan, I don't think that's the worst thing, in truth. I've been conflicted over Fikayo Tomori going out on loan because I was so impressed with him last season, and I felt looking at the weaknesses within our current centre-backs, could Tomori break into the team alongside Thiago Silva? And I want to reference not only Simon Johnson's tweet, as I just have, but also an article he wrote this week for The Athletic, where he was talking about who's going to partner Thiago Silva, because it does seem like when Thiago Silva's ready to go, it's going to be him plus one. A lot of us have been discussing that, and who is going to be that one player next to him. I believe it would probably be Kurt Zouma, just based on form and based on the fact I think they both speak French, of course, and there can be that sort of communication, especially if Edouard Mendy's behind him as well. But I think on Monday it was interesting looking at the performances of Kurt Zouma and specifically for me, Andreas Christensen, who I thought had a pretty decent game. I think both of them did, and very much impressed and had a strong start to the season. Let's hope that continues. A very difficult test on Sunday. I think I believe now Silva's got a bit of training in him at Cobham, and will Frank risk him on Sunday? Will he throw him right in there against Liverpool on Sunday? That's a massive game and it's a massive test. What an introduction to Premier League football. And if you're going to get a bigger indication of how ready Thiago Silva at 36 is to the Premier League, I think that's probably the best test against such a ferocious Liverpool attack. And just looking at that situation and looking at all the centre-backs, if Tomori did stay, then who else out of the current centre-backs would go? And to be honest, there hasn't been a lot of talk about a centre-back leaving. There were talks months back, I believe at the start of lockdown, that Rudiger was in talks for a new contract. That's completely stalled now. There's been no talk about that at all. Christensen, I spoke on the channel before, Matt Law saying that, the club are worried about letting Christensen go because they still feel he can develop into a great centre-back. There are reports in France that PSG could be in for Zouma, and Chelsea believing they could get a big fee for the defender. I didn't think that would be a good move personally based on Zuma's form last season, and I think he could be still a brilliant defender for Chelsea alongside a Thiago Silva. But Tomori can't sit on the bench all season. It's not good for him, especially considering he made that massive breakthrough last year and got a lot of football in previous years as well. I think it would really stall his development to just sit on the bench. Chelsea have a lot of centre-backs currently, and unless Frank is going to play a 3-4-3 all season, that doesn't look, I think, realistic to me. I think he will stick with a back four for a lot of the time. And of course, you've got to remember that Dave, if he does shift to a back three at points during the season, which I still think he will at times to be flexible, I think Dave will naturally always fit into one of those three centre-back positions. So I think it's going to be difficult for Fikayo Tomori, and I just don't want him sitting on the bench. Even if I think he should be starting and, given a chance again, I think it's better for him to go to Rennes. And if that speeds up a deal that's very important to Chelsea, I think that's a positive. As well, Rennes, it's not a bad level of football. Champions League qualification, Rennes got last season. They're going to be in the group stage. It'd be typical if Chelsea draw Rennes in the group stage very soon. And I don't know the case with loans in the Champions League. I know, of course, Premier League, when, you play a club that you've loaned a player to, the parent club, you can't play against them. And, that would be the case usually in the Premier League. I believe, there was the Courtois situation years back when he was at Atletico and he was allowed to play against us in the semi-final. So maybe if Tomori was available, he could, and on loan at Rennes, maybe he could play against us. I'm not entirely sure on the rules there, but I think it'd be good for him, a good level of football, and I think he would get regular minutes there, hopefully. You'd hope in going to League, I would give him a new test, a new culture of football, and that can really develop a player. And then if he gets substantial minutes this season, he can come back next year and potentially partner, say, a Thiago Silva if he's still at the club, or if he's ready, could be alongside a Kurt Zouma. I think Tomori can be a very important player for Chelsea, and I think that going out on loan, if he's not going to get any minutes this season, I think it's good for him to go out on loan. I think that's the case with a lot of young players. It's just a little bit different with Tomori because, of course, he did break in last season. It's not a Conor Gallagher situation or an Andrin situation for me where, yeah, they got a few minutes last season, but very brief cameos. We're talking about someone who for nearly half the season last year was a first team regular. And I think that's the conflict that Chelsea probably have had internally about this, that they're sort of thinking about, he could still be a massive player for us this season and could partner Thiago Silva back there because it's such a problem position for us. But I think this will likely happen because I think Chelsea is so willing to get the Mendy deal done. And if Rennes want Fikayo Tomori, I think they will probably get him on loan, and I don't think that's the worst thing for his development. Please don't let me know your opinions on this situation in the comments below. But that is it for this edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch it. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonofChelsea, and I'll see you again.